All right, well, we got a huge audience today. Google Food and the Talks at Google is proud to present Hans Röckenwagner, chef, LA for a long time, Three Square Bistro, and then also Röckenwagner Bakery and Cafe fame. So he's going to be demoing a couple recipes. For those of you who receive cookbooks, there's a card in there. So if you'd like to just fill it out, send it to the emailing list. They'll happily send you the recipes. And then also afterwards, there's also an opportunity to sign up for that. So without further ado, Chef Hans Röckenwagner.
It's not morning anymore. Hello, everyone. This is the first time I've done a demo with so many computers. I guess there's a first for everything, and today is the first for that. Anyway, my name is Hans Röckenwagner, as Jeff said, and believe it or not, I am going to be celebrating my 30-year anniversary of being in the food business in Los Angeles. That's a dinosaur in our industry, okay? I feel like Jurassic Park sometimes. 30 years. Imagine that. 1985, I opened my first restaurant literally down the street here where Joe's is right now. Everyone know where Joe's is? That was my restaurant. I built that restaurant, actually with my bare hands. I had $70,000. That's all I had, which I borrowed from my family. And my wife and I opened our first restaurant. We had 9 tables. I think we had 36 seats. And that was the dream for us, 24 years old, young and stupid. But I think that's actually the only way to do it, to be honest, because this industry can eat you alive. So what I'd like to do today, I'm going to show a couple of recipes from my first book. I have 2 cookbooks and one which you're holding in your hand, some of you. And the other one is from the first cookbook, and as Jeff said, send us your email and we'll email you the recipe. What I'd like to do stuff as I talk. I think you hear more to hear me talk than to do. And please ask me questions because that gives me an idea of what you want to know and what you're interested in. Everyone is interested in food now, right? I mean, for sure you are. You're here. But I think even those who are not here, everyone's interested in food. What is that? What gets us together like that about food? It's not just sustenance. And that's actually what drew me to the restaurant business a little bit. Maybe I won't even get to my recipes. There's something about food that sort of unites us and brings us together. And one of the most satisfying things for me is to walk into, hopefully, my restaurant, a busy restaurant, and see people enjoying themselves, not just in the food, the ambiance, the service, getting together and just having fun, Actually, one of the things, having been in this industry for so long and having had a restaurant for so long, I was in Los Angeles during a very difficult time when we had the fires, we had the riots, we had the earthquakes, really in very short succession. Some of you may remember that, others not. But there was a time when LA felt really disconnected and down and out, and everyone counted us out, and I felt I needed to do something to kind of get people together, because we grow up in this car culture, and we barely look at each other, and we're on our computers, and that's good for you, but not so good for us. But I felt, we need to do something to create community again. And there was this thing in Germany that we used to do. It's called Stammtisch, and literally Stammtisch has 2 meanings. One, like the 4 of us could get together and say, okay, every 3rd Wednesday of the month, we're going to get together, we're going to sit around this big table, and we're going to have a drink, and we're going to eat, and we're going to talk, politics, whatever we feel like doing. And that's what's called the Stammtisch. And the other thing with Stammtisch is actually the table itself. It used to be a very gnarly, big wooden table that sat, and it was reserved for regulars only. So if you came as a foreigner or someone that doesn't frequent that restaurant, and you would sit at that table, you would literally get kicked out because it was reserved for the regulars. So I felt I needed to do something like that, and I started Stammtisch in 90, I think 93. And I said, okay, I sent out some emails to some friends. I said, you know, every Tuesday, it was then Tuesday, every Tuesday, let's get together. Just come, have a bite, have a drink, and something kind of big grew out of that. Over the next 10 years, we built this into this big thing where people always knew every Tuesday night, I know where I'm going to be. I'm going to be at Röckenwagner. That was then my prized possession restaurant on Main Street here at the Edgemar. Everyone knows the Edgemar complex? So in the back, there's a restaurant. Still there now. I sold it actually in 2006. And we did Stammtisch. And people knew exactly where to be. And I'm really proud of having done that. A lot of friendships have formed. A lot of things have happened there. And we still do it now. Every Wednesday night at 3 Square, I'm there. I'm at 3 Square, and I'm hosting the table. Anyone who wants to join, meet some new people, have a beer, have a laugh, you know, come on down. All right, I should really get cooking. If not, I'm going to... So what we're going to do today, we're going to do Kadaifi-Wrapped Shrimp on eggplant caviar or melanzane with marinated tomatoes. And what I want to focus on today a little bit is the eggplant caviar. Everything else is going to be pretty simple and straightforward. Eggplant, being a native of Germany, we didn't have eggplant. I mean, we had it, but it was brought in. But we all look at this vegetable sometimes. What are we going to do with it, right? It's a little intimidating, right? And actually, eggplant is a fruit. It's a berry. It has seeds, and the seeds at times can make it a little bit bitter. So as we're doing it, I'm going to show you. So let me start. These are the Ichiban eggplants, the long, slender ones. This is what we have right now. Look, they're in season all year long. But to be honest, generally I preferred the big golden eggs, the black bells for this particular dish. What I've done here ahead of time is I've charred some of these eggplants. And I got them ready for you. And I mean charred. I'm not messing around with this, okay? So you can do this over a grill, or you can do it over a burner just like this. You put them cut side down, and don't touch them. Just leave them there. In about 3, 4, 5 minutes, we're going to check them out, and I want them literally charred like this, okay? So this is your chance to really burn it. All right, so once I'm going to keep this going just to show you roughly how long it takes and how charred I want it. Now, these, when you're done with this, you can see here, I'm going to show you, we're going to get rid of some of, obviously, as much as possible of this black charred substance and also some of the seeds. You don't want to take out all the seeds, but see how nicely this is just be scraped off. Okay? And then, you literally, if you start at the stem, you can scrape this right out of the shell. Okay? So if you have a few pieces of the chard in there, I like that actually because it gives it kind of a smoky flavor. I like smoky flavor. I like sausages. I like anything smoked. But still, you can always add a little more at the end. Let me try to do a couple more. While we're at it, let's check this out here. So this is not enough yet, clearly, because there's two things we're doing here. We're charring it to get some of the flavor, and we're also cooking it. We're going to cook it in the shell, in the skin. So we want to really char it very well on the cut side, and then we're going to turn it around and give it more heat from the bottom and actually cook it in its skin. So any questions so far? No? I'm that good? Come on. Ask me something. Maybe you see it better on this one, actually. It comes out even better. It could have been maybe cooked just a little bit more. But they're nice and soft. Okay? I'm going to put that aside. So let me talk about my bakery a little bit. Some of you familiar with my bakery? Yes? I don't see enough hands. Okay, excellent. That is actually my big business now. In 1992, 1991, when I sold the restaurant on Abbot Kinney, I moved down to Main Street, and I felt, you know what, I really can't find the bread that I want for my for my food and for my sandwiches. And I brought a master baker from Germany, and started a bakery as part of the restaurant. And this bakery that was part of my kitchen started to produce some really good stuff. One of them, which you're eating right now, that's something we've become known for, pretzels. And within a year or so after we opened, there was a little coffee shop that opened right in front of us, and that was Pete's Coffee. And one day, unbeknownst to me, this woman walks in, and I kid you not, her name was Janet Coffee. I'm not making this up. Janet Coffee walks in the door and says, hi, I'm Janet Coffee. I work for Pete's Coffee. We'd like to carry your pastries. I'm like, okay, well, that's easy. You're right up front. We'll bake it in the back. We'll bring it to the front. No problem. Yeah, but we have 5 other locations. So all of a sudden, I had to get a truck. I had to get a driver. And that's how our bakery started, literally, out of the back of our kitchen. So in the daytime, it was a restaurant. At nighttime, it was a bakery. It was a perfect use of the space and economically, obviously, very good. Yeah, that's just about right. Now, you'd never think of doing this, right? So we started delivering Pete's Coffee, and little by little, we got another account here, another account there, and all of a sudden, I found myself, this bakery is really something I should be taking more seriously. And then a few years later, we bought this little space on Washington Boulevard near Beethoven, which now is a little cafe of ours where we do breakfast and lunch. If you haven't been there, go by there. It's a really charming little neighborhood spot, super friendly, great coffee, great pastries. So we moved our production there because we really had outgrown. One thing I learned, actually, is flour and oil don't mix. So in a restaurant kitchen environment, you have a lot of oil, the fryers, the sautéing, all this stuff going on. Even though you have hoods, and there's always some of it in the air. So the bakers will come in at night, and the flour is everywhere. Bakers, there's flour everywhere, okay? It's kind of like drywall dust. It gets everywhere. So we figured out, we really need to take this somewhere else. So we moved into this, okay. So it depends on how big the eggplants are, right? And the moisture of the eggplant also. I'm just about done with the charring. If I feel that maybe they're not cooked enough, and all I need to do is kind of feel them out a little bit, I would then, is there plastic wrap? Jeff, is there plastic wrap? Well, I'll tell you. I would put it in a bowl or in a container, right? Wrap it in plastic and just let it sit. And like that, you're cooking it a little bit more and a little bit longer and they're also steaming up a little bit. The skin is easier to remove. You may have seen it on a couple of the eggplants where it was very easy. So that's one little tip. Where was I? Yes? You can. I haven't done it. I'm sorry? Or the smoke alarm? Well, the smoke alarm comes from the smoke, not whether or not it's the boiler or the stove top. You know these things? I don't know. They're $15, $20. It's so easy. If you're in an environment that's very sensitive, and now more and more you may want to take one of these and put it out on the balcony and do it. And I'm sure there's other uses you can. These come in really handy, these little burners. But you can't do it on the boiler. Whether or not that's going to help your smoke alarm, I don't know. All right, so we got our eggplant. And once you have the eggplant, obviously you need more than this, okay? What you want to do you want to get a cheesecloth, a food-grade cheesecloth. Well, they're all food-grade, more or less. And you put it in the cheese, you put out the cheesecloth, you put it in the center, you pull up the ends, and you literally let it hang like a little bag in the refrigerator overnight. And we do that actually in commercial cooking a lot, because some things just need time to drain. You could try to squeeze it out, but you're going to squeeze out a lot of the good also, a lot of the meat. Whereas you give it time, it just does it by itself. Gravity works, I can tell you. It's just much easier. Like, for instance, what we do also, have you ever had tomato water? You can do tomato water like that also, where you literally, you take the tomatoes, you put it in a blender, and you blend it really well, and you line a bowl with a cheesecloth, and you put the tomatoes in, pull up the ends, and hang it over another bowl, and the next day, you have clear tomato water, which is delicious. And you can use as a soup, just a little bit of snip chives. It's delicious. Tomato water. We used to do that a lot too. So, back to the eggplant. All right, we have the eggplant. I'm going to just chop this by hand. I don't need the rubber coop for that. And to be honest, so sometimes it depends. When you have eggplant caviar, sometimes it's more chunky, sometimes it's more pureed. The one that you're going to be tasting has been pureed because we made so much. But now these days, I feel the less I process my food, the better. Because I really want the essence of the food. I'm kind of old school, okay? As you can tell, no tats, no earrings, no... I dare you to find any other chefs like that, unless they're 60 years old. So, again, now these days when I go to restaurants, and I go out a lot, go to New York a lot, my wife works in New York, and we go out a lot, and very often at the end of the meal is, not even at the next day, I say to my wife, so what did we eat last night? And if I can remember a few things, and they're vividly in my palate, in my brain, then I know I had a good meal. If I don't remember what I had, well, what did we have? Oh, yeah, we had chicken. What chicken? Well, it was, I don't know. That's not good enough for me. Right? And the other thing is I want to taste what I'm being told I'm going to have. I don't want 50,000 ingredients. I can't tell one of them, So that's why I actually like this. This is a Mediterranean dish. Every doctor I ever had told me, you should be on the Mediterranean diet. Okay, well, we'll do that today. So the reason I come to that is because this eggplant, I could put it in the food processor, which I prep, but I don't have enough. But actually I want to show you that we can just do it by hand, not over-process, still have a little bit of texture, right? And get the essence of the eggplant. Okay, a little bit more shallots. A little bit of garlic. A little bit of yogurt. This is just to make it smoother. Salt, pepper. A little bit of vinegar. I like white vinegar here. And then just a little bit of olive oil. And this is your fresh eggplant caviar or melanzane. So again, how long did that take us? If I hadn't talked so much, it would be done in 5 minutes, right? Okay. Actually, a couple more things I can put in here. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. And that's what cooking is about. Also, cooking is about the moment, which, where is it? Right here. I have some dill, fresh dill. I just put in a little dill, just to give it a little bit more, just another dimension, a little added flavor that doesn't distract from my eggplant, but will only make it better and enhance it. So, and that's really it for my eggplant. Pretty straightforward, right? And this, to be honest, you can put on a piece of fish, you can put on a piece of meat, you can eat with chips, you can eat it on a sandwich. This is one of those building blocks that we're always talking about in the kitchen, a building block that really builds your dish. It can be the dish itself, or it can enhance anything you put it with. Goes good with seafood, goes good with chicken. I think it goes even good with steak. Kadaifi is not one of those, it's actually a Middle Eastern thing. And Qaddafi is shredded phyllo. Are you guys familiar with phyllo dough? Phyllo is super, super thin dough that we tried to make at one point, and later on I went to the factory to see how they make it professionally. The guy said, "Why are you making it yourself?" It's really a lot of work. A little bit similar to a strudel dough, actually. So it almost looks like angel hair, right? And it's a little bit hard to find. You want to probably go to a Middle Eastern store that specializes in ingredients like this. Okay, we have our shrimp. We have some shrimp here. I have a mess. I actually never work in a mess, but right now. I have the shrimp. I'm going to marinate these just a little bit. I'm going to add some basil, salt, pepper, olive oil. You may have noticed that all the things that I do, I try to impart flavor from the beginning. And sometimes that may be very basic ingredients, and sometimes they may be more complex ingredients like spices and things like that. Okay, a little bit of basil, a little bit of olive oil, salt, pepper, and you just want to marinate these a little bit, maybe a half an hour before. Just to impart some basic flavor. You know, one thing we forgot on the eggplant caviar, lemon juice, also very good. Sometimes you want to use lemon juice versus vinegar, but you need a little bit of acid, and I'd like to get into that. So now, should we put them in? Or what do you think? Now, we're going to take this Kadaifi, right? So we'll lay it out. And then we wrap our shrimp in it. That's it. So in the recipe for my first book, we used to fry these. Since most of you don't have fryers, and hopefully don't have a commercial kitchen at home, let me give you a little tip. So very often when you talk about fried food, there's a few reasons for frying food. A, it's delicious, and B, you crisp it up, right? You make it really crisp, and that's what we like in what I think are the juxtapositions between hot and cold, crisp and soft, sweet and sour. So on this, I may put a little bit of olive oil on the sheet pan, place this on the olive oil, and just spray it a little bit. The finer the mist, the better. And then I'll just bake it. And you get a similar flavor but less oil. And you still get the crispness. So we actually have the ones for you guys to try. We just put them in the oven. The Kadaifi. You've never heard of it? Yeah. We chefs kind of have a way of finding stuff. No, I think I was actually exposed to it by one of my cooks very early on, who said, "Hey, chef, have you ever tried this?" And I said, "Hey, bring it over. Let's try it out." And when I came to the States, you have to understand, I came here in 1980. I feel so old quoting dates to you, but I kind of have to. So when I came over to the States in 1983, I came from Germany. I worked in France and Switzerland and Germany. What we had was French food, German food, Swiss food, which is very similar to German food, and Italian food. There were no Mexican restaurants, Thai restaurants, Chinese restaurants. I mean, there were maybe a few here or there, but I was never exposed to that. I came from a very small little town. Okay, later on in my apprenticeship and when I worked in France and in Switzerland, but again, there was maybe one Chinese restaurant in a larger metropolitan area, or one Thai restaurant, and we weren't that exposed. Well, when I came here, my wife took me to all these places. Wow, this is great. And there was like a treasure trove of ingredients and techniques and flavors that I discovered that I then started to blend in with my German food. And so became part of this California cuisine revolution that's really based on local ingredients. I know local is way overused word, but I have bought produce at that farmer's market in Santa Monica for 30 years. Local to me is nothing new. I grew up on local, okay? So what we would do then, that generation of cooks, and I'm talking Wolfgang Puck and Michel Richard and Joachim Splichal and Matsuhisa, these are somewhat my contemporaries. They're people that did all this at the same time I was doing it. And so I had obviously a very strong German background, and I would start cooking my food and then add a little cilantro and add a little soy sauce or add a little bit of ginger, ingredients that I wasn't that familiar with, but was exposed to and started incorporating in my food. And that's how I developed my style. Because this is a very, this could be labeled as maybe a touch of Asian, but definitely Mediterranean, Middle Eastern. It's not, you can't peg it just to one thing. So that's how my original restaurant, which was a very high-end restaurant that I ran for 23 years. 23 years I ran a high-end restaurant that was consistently listed as one of the top 10 restaurants. I got the articles to prove it to you. But then, wow, where am I? Where do we want to go with this conversation? Do you want to hear more of that, or do you want to hear more of the bakery? What are you interested in? Nothing? I'm sorry? The Laugenbrot. Laugenbrot, well, a Laugenbrot, the gentleman over here just referred to something that in Germany we call Laugenbrot. Really what it means is a pretzel bread. We at the bakery obviously do a lot with pretzels. We make what we call German twisted pretzels. We make pretzel rolls. We make pretzel bagels. We make pretzel sliders. We make pretzel croissants. We make pretzel chips. We try to do everything with pretzels we can. And that's our big thing. In the meantime, we have grown so big in our bakery that we now supply Peet's Coffee, all of the Peet's Coffee in Southern California area, about 32 stores. We're in all the Whole Foods, about 33 stores and counting. We're in all Gelson's. We supply about 400 to 500 accounts every day. We have 13 trucks on the road. We have about 125 employees just at the bakery. That's the big business now. This is just fun. No, I'm really proud of the bakery and what we've done with it, and it continues to be an education to me every day, because now all of a sudden you deal with logistics and drivers and so many things, but it's fun. It's just, I'm having a blast. But I still like to cook, and I still like to be part of the restaurants. It's just that the bakery right now is taking a lot more time out of my daily schedule. And another thing that's like I have to brag about this a little bit. On Sunday, I'm going to do a bike ride from Los Angeles to San Diego, and it's part of Chef's Ride. And it's 3 days, 100 miles each day, and we're raising money for Share Our Strength for the No Kid Hungry program. Since I'm in the dude's room today, he is a big advocate for this as well, and it's going to meet us in Santa Barbara. And we're raising funds to feed kids that can't afford. 1 out of 5 kids in the U.S. does not know where their next meal is going to come from. In my mind, that's unconscionable. And a bunch of chefs have gotten together. There's a group on the East Coast that just finished their ride last night. There's a group on the West Coast of notable chefs. They got together and we said, okay, we're going to raise funds. Each of us pledged to raise at least $10,000. I was the first to raise $10,000 on the West Coast. And altogether, we're going to raise some $400,000. Each dollar feeds 4 kids with subsidies and everything. So if you feel like it, putting in a couple of dollars here and there, every dollar feeds 4 kids. This doesn't go to me. I'm on a bike starting Sunday morning, riding my bike from Santa Barbara to San Diego. So I'm really proud of that. I haven't done it yet, but I've raised the money. I've raised the money, and that's what counts. So, what else? Tomatoes. These are beautiful heirloom tomatoes. We very often peel our tomatoes because I think by doing that, there's a lot of different thoughts on this. You're removing a lot of the nutrients that generally, for most vegetables, are right under the skin. But since I am as much about flavor as I'm about the nutrients, it makes it a lot more flavorful. So we have beautiful heirloom tomatoes here. We peeled them, we seeded them, and we diced them. Okay? Got some red ones. A little bit salt. I'm not going to put the black pepper right here because I don't want it to distract from this beautiful color. So if I had finely ground wine pepper, I would probably use white pepper. A little bit of olive oil. You could hot water. Put them in a colander. Hot water. Count to 10. Pull them out. Okay. Thank you for asking. Tomato. Take the tomato. You make a little cross in the top. Okay. Then, as I said, hot boiling water, not salted or flavored. Put it in there. Pull it out after 10 seconds. Then where you made the cross, generally, if the tomato is ripe, you'll see that it's already starting to peel off, okay? And if you notice that you can peel it off, then you shock them in ice water to stop the cooking, and you peel your tomato. If the skin does not come off yet, you just put them back in until you're ready. These peel very easily. The cardboard tomatoes that you buy in the supermarket, they'll be mush before you can peel them. There's a few ingredients you really don't want to skimp, and a tomato is one of them. Why eat a tomato if you can't get any flavor out of it? So, olive oil and just a little bit of, these are my cooks. They make it foolproof for me. We could go through an earthquake, nothing would happen. Which, anyone noticed yesterday? That was earthquake weather. I don't know about you. I was worried. A little bit balsamic vinegar, not too much. We just want it for flavoring. Maybe a little bit more olive oil. And this is where your touch can come in. You can add dill, you can add basil, you could add a little ginger, you could add garlic. That's up to you. And if now by magic the cooked shrimp would appear, I'd be happy. Okay, so now we have our eggplant caviar, which gives us this beautiful, earthy, smoky flavor, and also creamy and soft. Then we have the tomatoes with the acidity, the sweet and the sour, and the coolness of the tomato. And then we're going to have our shrimp, firm, plump, juicy shrimp with a crisp surrounding. I mean, you can't go wrong. So, acidity. Let's talk acidity a little bit. In my first cookbook, I devoted a whole chapter to that because very often people at home, they cook something at the end, they taste it, and, it's good, but it's just not as good as at Hans's place. So I believe that almost anything needs a balance, and that balance very often comes from adding a little bit of acidity, whether or not that's lemon juice, lime juice, vinegar. All those things just add a little bit of, they open up your palate, and they make everything else shine. So next time you make a salsa, obviously lime juice, right? Or you make this eggplant caviar, a little lemon juice or a little bit of vinegar. Try this. Even in sauces, very often when we make brown sauces, at the end we add a teaspoon of balsamic vinegar or just a little bit of sherry vinegar, and it just opens up the whole spectrum of flavors to everything else. I am almost done. So, any more questions? Wow, God. I don't know. I know this always gets me in trouble, but there's really nothing left. I hate to say it. There was there's me again, old-timer speaking. There was a place on Wilshire Boulevard that was called the Black Forest Inn. That was actually very good. And the guy, Norbert, a good friend of mine, older, he was about, 15 years maybe older than me. This guy was in the kitchen for, 35 years, every single day. And then he sold the restaurant. This is so sad. He sold the restaurant. He died within half a year. It was the craziest thing. This guy needed his kitchen. But that was a very good German restaurant. And at that time, this was, again, in the mid-'90s, this almost broke my heart because I remember him getting a review. And I'm not going to say who the reviewer was, but this was a reviewer who had published Spanish, Catalan, and French cookbooks himself and authored many articles on that region of food. And then he went out to critique a German restaurant and gave it a really bad review. And I felt really bad about it. You know, I don't think he got that kind of food. It's so funny. I just read an article the other day that we're actually more influenced by German stuff overall through our ancestors than any other background, I think. But I think what has happened is it's been assimilated into American culture. So there's a lot of things that we now consider American that actually came from Germany. I mean, one of them is the hamburger. The hot dog was a Viennese. It was a German hot dog that is, you know, including the hamburger, one of the most popular foods in this country. You know, delicatessen, that's a German thing. So there's a lot of things that we are still we consider now American, and that's great. I think that's all good. White asparagus, thank you. We actually just finished the season. So that's been actually a big, I've been a big champion of the white asparagus. And that's one of the things that, again, that I did very early on that, okay, I'm going to get back to that in just a second. So let's plate this. Will you give me 3 of them? So there's many different ways I could plate this, right? I'm making this up as I go here, okay? Like everything in life. I love plating food. Always have. For a while there, my high-end restaurant was considered to be serving architectural food. That was in the 80s. It was a hot thing. Since we eat with our eyes as much as we do with our stomachs, you want to make it look nice. This is sort of a fancier presentation. We could add some dill if we wanted to. We could have some fun and just play around with it. Just the reason we do this sometimes is because this shows it that it's light, actually, and it has air. It could almost fly away. So that's it. That's the only thing I may add to this is just a little bit of olive oil. And to be honest, why are we adding olive oil? For flavor. That's why Americans actually they've had the hardest time with olive oil. If I've cooked in Italy, I've gone to some of the best restaurants in Italy, and the first thing the chef in the kitchen takes is this is my olive oil. Everyone has a different olive oil, but every chef tells you this is my olive oil. And they use the olive oil completely different than we do. It's a flavoring agent. Add a soup. You make a great pureed bean soup. You put a little olive oil on top of it. And you get that creaminess and that flavor and that earthiness from that particular olive oil, whether or not it's acidic or it's peppery. Okay? So olive oil, that's how we should use olive oil, as especially extra virgin olive oil. Never, ever, ever fry in extra virgin olive oil. It's a waste of money. Okay? You're wasting your money. This is like gold. That's how you have to treat it. You drizzle it a little bit on the end, on your salad, on your grilled steak, on your grilled fish, and it opens up, again, that extra level of flavors. So back to asparagus. Why are we cutting? Why are we cutting? No. Oh, we don't have enough? Okay. Well, that's the price of popularity. White asparagus. So I grew up in an area where we grow white asparagus. And when I came here, I was exposed to, believe it or not, I had seen green asparagus in Germany, but it wasn't as common as the white asparagus. And the white asparagus is a delicacy. Not that the green is not. But the white asparagus is never gets exposed to the sunlight. And so it gets harvested very early in the morning, 4 or 5 o'clock, while it's still dusty, not full sunshine. And it literally, there are these mounds of dirt, so you have to imagine this row of dirt, and the asparagus kind of grows out on the side. And what they do is when they harvest it, they can see where the topsoil breaks, where it cracks. And they can tell that's where an asparagus is. Then they have these little shovel, and they literally cut this asparagus deep down about this long out of the ground. So each stalk is hand harvested. It's white. It's about this thick, thicker than a thumb, and it needs to be peeled. But when it's made right, it's one of the best things you'll ever have. And it's pure, and you can tell the terroir, the soil that it comes out. You can tell the minerals. And generally, when we make it as unchanged as possible, which is that we boil it in water with a little salt, a little lemon juice, acidity, and a little bit butter at the top, because then as you pull it out of the water, it coats it with butter a little bit. It's so good. So when I came here, there was no white asparagus here, right? I said, oh, I got to change this. And I started, this was in 87. I started actually importing my own white asparagus from Germany. I had to get an agricultural permit. I had to get an importing license. I had to do all kinds of stuff to bring in white asparagus. And the first 3 years I did it, I lost money. But I believed in it. And I believed that, eventually I gain a couple more customers every year, and I create a following. Sometimes these things take time, okay? And after about 5 or 6 years, I was the asparagus king. So I made it to pretzel king and asparagus king. And I really started promoting this white asparagus. And at first, I only had Germans, because Germans knew about it. So in that, it's a very short season. It usually starts with when the weather gets warmer, April, May. You have to imagine we're in Europe, so it could get, it's possible not to get warm until June. So it also signals the beginning of summer. Sidewalk cafes open, people outside. It's just a great time. And that's when that vegetable is at the height of the season. It's about 7 to 8 weeks. And all the restaurants in my area changed their menus to white asparagus. And generally, when you go to a restaurant and you look at the menus, it says steak with beans, swordfish with broccoli. But in the asparagus season, it's white asparagus with steak, white asparagus with swordfish, white asparagus with shrimp. The white asparagus is the star. So I believed in this, and it really took me 3 years, and then it kind of took off. And now you're starting to see it everywhere. Well, not everywhere. It's still per pound, white asparagus is more expensive than lobster, maybe even twice the price of lobster. That gives you an idea of why maybe it hasn't been as popular yet, and it's also very hard to find. Okay. They've tried, and for a while I used to get it from a farm in Indiana. Here, it needs a very specific soil. It likes a sandy and a lot of moisture. So it's usually grown alongside rivers or lakes with very sandy soil. They haven't been able to. You can get some from South America, but don't waste your money. They're no good. If, then do it right. Like the tomato. If you want to eat a tomato, eat a good tomato, or don't eat it at all. I grew up right next to the border of France and Switzerland. I would walk to France and I would take my bike to Switzerland. I didn't think of anything doing that. But it was a great area. There was great food because we had influence from France and we had influence from Switzerland. And it's kind of considered the Toscana of Germany because it's the warmest region of Germany. So lots of fruits, lots of vegetables, wine. We have some good wines in Germany also that are becoming more and more popular here now. Okay. Yes. Just a string, yeah. A little twine. Yeah, if I had cheesecloth, I would show it to you. But it's very simple. It's like a napkin. You fold it out, put out the napkin, put it in the center, pull it up, tie it, and just hang it in the fridge and put a bowl below, obviously, because it drips. That's it. And you're removing a lot of the moisture. That then allows you to add some of the other, the yogurt, the olive oil, the lemon juice without it being too runny. Wow. So, what else? We do both. We obviously have a lot of different breads. So we do both. But make your own starter. Here. Grape seeds. It's actually relatively easy. If ever you want a tour of the bakery, I'd be happy to give you a tour. It's great fun, seeing a bakery in action with 70, 80 bakers. It's a lot of fun. And we still do a lot of stuff by hand. It's called mandrolic. There's certain machines that, like for instance, the kneading of the dough. It's so funny what I'm learning more and more in the baking industry. A lot of these machines that we use in the bakery are super, super specific. They do one task and one task only. And that task, they try to mimic the hand as much as possible. The kneading, the shaping, the cutting, all these things, the machines tries to mimic what the hand motion does. So you will have a machine that literally all it does, it takes the dough and it divides it in balls. That's all it does. But that's a $50,000 machine. And then the next machine will shape it like your hand, because when you have a ball of dough, you're rounding it in your hand to become a ball. And as you're doing that, you're giving it elasticity and you're giving it a tension on the surface. And that's why very often you see one roll is a little bit bigger and the other one is a little smaller and the next one is a little flatter. Well, not everyone has the same hand. Not everyone has the same tension, and not everyone has the same motion. In bakery, my big business now, the biggest thing that we face on a daily basis, what is it? Consistency. It may sound so simple, but I have customers that rely on that hamburger bun to be 4 inches. Not 5 inches, not 3 inches, 4 inches. Because if it's 3 inches, the meat hangs over it. If it's 5 inches, you can't see the meat. So consistency for us in the bakery business is the biggest deal. I'm telling you, at times, it's even more important than quality. And actually, for me as a chef, that was a little bit of a revelation, because as a chef, you are always trying for that 100%, 100%. That's all you do. You try to achieve 100% everything you do. But as a baker, you'd be setting yourself up, because you cannot deliver every day 100%. So you have to actually pare back just a little bit to be within that tolerance of what you're making. Because your customer expects quality. Quality is important. Don't get me wrong. I mean, I'm still driven by quality. But in the bakery business, consistency is huge, huge. I have a lot of people out there, oh, I'll just open my bakery. Okay, great, please, go ahead. And then the next thing, they start out with a great bread. You know, we have a lot of these, we have a lot of upcoming hot bakers out there that put out a great product. 5 loaves. Great product. Now multiply that by, we make between 35,000 to 50,000 pieces every single day. Every single day. So that's where the challenge comes in when you grow and when you start delivering other people. From Santa Barbara to San Diego. My bike ride tomorrow on this weekend. So that's our challenge in the bakery business. And I'm really excited about all these young bakers coming up, putting out really good stuff. And that's good for us, you know, especially us who were really into quality, we're really into that super, the ultimate, you know, and it's great. I love it. But, you know, then making it times 30, 40, 50,000 is a different story. We make at the bakery, we make 350 different products every day, fresh. Nothing is frozen. Made daily, delivered daily. I'm really proud of that. I'm really like, you know what, I think now looking back at my career, you know, I used to serve 20 people in my first run, 30 people, later on maybe 100 people a day, dinner. If you think about that, I touch possibly in the tens of thousands of people's lives every single day trying my product. That's awesome. I go to places, sometimes I'm invited for dinner, and they don't know. And I see my bread on the table. I'm like, wow, that's great. You know? That's fantastic. Right? So I'm having a much bigger impact with that than I ever had with my restaurants. I've taken nothing away of what I have done in my restaurants. I'm super proud of it. But, you know, it's tough out there. I see all these young guys really working very hard and putting a lot of good, they were wearing their heart on their sleeves and they're putting it out there, and we are the benefactors of that. Yes? I had one of my friends place an ad in a paper, but that doesn't work anymore. He was one of my best bakers ever. He helped set us up, and he moved on. He became a baking instructor actually up north. But we've had a lot of good bakers, and still do. No, actually, lots of people. But then comes well, what about the visa? What about this? What about that? And I've brought over a lot of people and didn't work out after a week, you know? It's just culture shock, different circumstances, different situations. It's not so easy. Well, I think that's it. I've talked myself out. Thank you. Come on over.